Today on the Let's REI podcast, I'm joined by Robert Harden, a restoration contractor turned real estate investor who owns 28 doors and is a master of creative finance. From title chaos to lease option wins, Robert breaks down the good, the bad, and the near disasters in a way only someone who has lived it can. Let's dive into the conversation. Hey, Robert, welcome. Glad to see you today. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here, Jamie. Like, we get to hang out all the time and at meetups and so forth, and I love hanging with you. So this is great.
Dude, you're like my local mentor, you and Carolina, and I think the reason I even joined Subto, which is the hat you're wearing right now. Yeah, so yeah, again, welcome to the podcast. I just wanted to get you on here, and you've told me some pretty cool stories along the way at all these meetups that we go to. But first of all, like, I don't think I've ever asked you. Well, let's just get into it a little bit. I don't think I've ever asked you why you joined a Subto or even pursued real estate. I know you're coming from a background of like construction and you do like fixing up of properties once they've been damaged from flooding and things like that, right? With drywall repair and stuff like that. But how did you get into the other side of things, into real estate?
Well, my real estate journey started a long, long time ago. Like my first property, I did like everybody else did. You know, you buy your first one, and then you hear that you're supposed to, get another property and just rent out the old one. So I kind of started along those lines, but I didn't really take it seriously until 2018. I started listening to a ton of podcasts because I knew I wanted a portfolio. So I wanted passive income, and I knew that real estate was like the easiest path to like building wealth. So that's how I kind of got started there, listening to Bigger Pockets. And then from Bigger Pockets led me to Wholesaling Inc. That was the first like program that I bought into.
I never heard of that one.
Oh, they have a really good podcast, by the way. You should definitely check them out. Wholesaling Inc. But it's now Brent Daniels is the face of it. So
Okay.
when I joined, it was Cody Hoffine. So Cody Hoffine was like the face of Wholesaling Inc. And their whole platform was around direct mailers, like sending out direct mail and doing that. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I spent like 20K in postcards over like 3 months.
Did you have to like sign them yourself, or was it all computer?
No, it was all
Generated?
computer. It was great. The postcards was pretty cool. Like their system, like they really know how to do postcards. Like
Yeah.
they're amazing at that. But the problem that they, like I was so new at it and didn't know how to have conversations with sellers. So I had all these leads coming in and I did not know how to have those conversations. So I spent a lot of time on the phone building rapport in a way that I thought was important. But reality was I was just having, regular conversations with people and not really moving the needle or moving the ball forward.
Yep.
So yeah, I spent a ton of time, ton of money, and got frustrated because I'm like, I'm not getting any deals. Like I didn't get any deal out of that.
Out of 20,000, I'm spending postcards. Yeah.
20K spent, no deals. But I kept listening to podcasts and I wanted to learn more. And then that's when I came across Pace on a podcast.
Yeah.
And Pace was it just blew my mind because he was buying houses for no money, taking them over like we know, subject to, and all kinds of creative finance.
Yeah.
And then from there, I joined Subto in, that was 2022. So it's a pretty big gap there. It's like 4 years after did Wholesaling Inc. for like a year. And then the construction industry was booming at that time. So I didn't really have time to spend on it. So I didn't buy my first property, like real estate type purchase, versus like a traditional purchase till 2020 was my first one.
Okay. Yeah. So I think a lot of people can relate to that because the story people have in their minds is that someone starts and immediately, boom, they've got 10 properties and they're, taking trips around the world and living off their passive income, right? And what you're describing is you started in 2018 and it wasn't until like 2020 or so when you got your first one, and you didn't join, I think, the community until 2021, right? That's when you really started to learn the creative finance strategies and take off.
2022. And that's where everything kind of blew up for me because being in Subto, you learn how to have those conversations. Like I went into the vault, we call it the vault. So for the non-Subto people that are listening, it's called the vault. So like you go in there and there's literally hundreds of thousands of hours of, that might be exaggeration, but there's thousands and thousands of hours of instructions.
I think there's a Zoom in there that goes for 18 hours or something way back in the early days. So
I went in there and started listening to conversations that Pace was having with sellers, and then going on and listening to the daily dial, the nightly dial, and listening how they have their conversations. And then I came up with my own style based on that. And that's when I was able to actually, move conversations forward, get properties under contract, start buying more properties. Yeah.
Right. So you're based out of Oregon. We live fairly close to one another, and this area, Pacific Northwest, tends to scare people away, like investors, right? They hear about the landlord-tenant laws and the squatters and everything else. Have you navigated that where other people had just been afraid to even step their foot into the Northwest?
Yeah. The easiest way to navigate that is to get a good property management company because everything comes down to property management. If you do a poor job on the front end of vetting tenants, then you end up with all kinds of problems. So I have really, really good property management right now. I just fired one of my other property managers. We parted ways actually last month on a property that I owned a long time ago, but they just were not a good fit. So now it's one of those trial and error things. So if you find a good property manager, stay with them. And as you're buying properties, they will keep you safe on that. So it really all comes down to property
Property
management.
management. Yeah, I think like what I've heard in the past was that because there's that sort of stigma, it does keep competition away. So you have more properties to choose from, right? Because other outside investors are sticking to Texas and Ohio and Florida and those places. So like me.
I don't blame you. Honestly, I if I were to start over and I could figure that out, it's just that I was too scared to do that. Like as a contractor, when people, came to me with their stories of doing projects, heavy rehabs far away,
Yeah.
it scares me so much because like I have rehab projects going on locally, and if I don't go there once a week or
Hmm.
check after somebody says, hey, you know what, hey, I'm all done with the plumbing or all
Yeah.
done with the electrical, and you go over there and you realize that they're not done or it's not done right, it can be very, very expensive and costly. So that scares me to do
Mm.
stuff far away. But
Yeah.
I think if I had, doing properties that don't need a lot of work far away, because I have one in Louisiana, so I do have
Okay.
some
Yeah.
stuff that's kind of far away. One in Redmond, Oregon. I only been to that one once. Like,
Yeah. It might as well be out of state, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like it's far enough away to where I went over one time, looked at the property, met with property management, and then
Hmm.
they took it over. They handled the whole rehab. There wasn't
Yeah.
a lot. It was like
Yeah.
carpet paint, basic
Yeah.
turn, some flooring stuff, nothing really major. But they handled the whole turn for me and they
Yeah.
rented it out. So I'm not opposed to doing things a little bit far away, but it does add another layer of complexity.
I would just like take something and turn it around because of your background. I think you're uniquely positioned with your experience, working with construction that most of us don't have to really be able to manage something out of state because just get them to show you the pictures of video, like you would know if you're being, showing shoddy work or not. Where someone with no background would be like, okay, that's looks good, right? So yeah, I think you could definitely do it for sure with your background.
I like that. I think you just gave me a little more confidence on it so I can.
Yeah, do it, man. Cool.
I say that, but then like this one in Salem I have, like we had to replace a sewer line and it's like $28,000. I got to pay that bill next week. So,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, that's the downside of real estate.
Yeah, I've got the one out in Ohio, and it's really good property management, and it's really like I barely even think about that one, and which is what you want, right? So yeah, I got to keep those guys around for sure. So yeah, speaking of, kind of mentioned it earlier, crazy deals, crazy situations. What's one story that sticks out for you where you're like, how am I going to figure out my way through this? And you actually did it, and everything worked out well to
Ooh.
the best as possible.
Do you want one that worked out or one that I have one that we are just unwinding it right now, actually. There's one in
Okay.
Salem that was a complete mess. Yeah, there's a saying that's like slow is smooth and smooth is fast,
Yeah.
and that's violated that rule on this particular deal. But seller was in foreclosure and they could not sell it traditionally. They were trying to put it out there, but the debt was too high that was on it. It scared everybody away because the actual value of the property is way less than what they were trying to, the debt was on it. So we came in and at first look, it looked like we just needed to take care of the arrears. So it had like a first lien, when we first got involved, it had a first lien and arrears and a loan mod. So they had some kind
Oh,
of loan mod that cleaned things up. And then once we got into it, we found out that the loan mods were never recorded, and the sellers actually had multiple loan mods along the way,
okay. Yeah.
and none of it was recorded. So we're trying to sort through all these documents to figure out what the actual debt looked like and what was not. Well, we found one of the liens from 20 years ago, a mortgage for 54,000 that
Wow.
that the seller told us was rolled into their new loan with Mr. Cooper, and but we couldn't find any reconveyance or any satisfactions. So title thought, and we thought, and the seller thought, everybody thought that this lien just needed to be reconveyed so that, to remove it off title, and they had to, basically title
Yeah.
has to cross all those, dot their,
Yeah.
dot their I's, cross their T's, all that good stuff. So we wholesaled it. So we brought in a buyer, and he had to bring $66,000 to the table to close this transaction. He was
Okay.
paying off the arrears.
Yeah.
It had a state second. So there was also a state second on it where the state, during COVID, they got relief
Okay.
for 60K. So they got like a 60K loan or like forbearance or help on the property for 60,000. But we come to find out it actually was, they only drew down like 45,000 on this note, but it
Okay.
shows 60,000 on title.
Wow.
And then when we get in the portal, they've already gotten, it gets forgiven over like 5 years, and
Yeah.
they had 3 years left on it. So basically the note as of that time that we put this together was 29,000.
Okay.
But if
So
we
3 more
structured it,
years, it would be totally forgiven.
yeah, totally forgiven.
Okay.
So we
But
structured it as a lease
okay.
purchase so
Yeah.
that title doesn't transfer, so that the buyer can get that $29,000 taken, removed from the property in 3 years when he
Yeah.
closes. So this is what the setup was. It was all set up, and title. Okay, the buyer wires money into title, or sorry, he takes a cashier's check into title on a Friday. This was last Friday.
Yeah.
Takes in $66,000 and signs all the paperwork. Seller signs all the paperwork. Okay, no, it was Tuesday morning, because it was supposed to disperse Tuesday. Like they're supposed to wire out funds, like pay off the arrears, pay off judgments.
Yeah.
Judgments popped up. We had judgments. All this money was going to go out on Tuesday. Title texts me in the morning and goes, "We have a problem." And I'm like, they didn't elaborate. And I was
That's
like,
not good.
well, like, what could the problem be? So they send me an email and they're like, "Hey, just so you know, we heard back from," it's called Arch Mortgage, was the name of the one from 20 years ago.
Okay.
He said, "We heard back from Arch. They're not going to reconvey. In fact, they sent us a payoff letter for $110,000.
Come and went up so much because it wasn't that much, right? It was.
It was only supposed to be $54,000, but
Yeah.
they had like $60,000 in interest that it's accrued over
Oh wow.
17 years. 17 years. And now I'm panicking because this means that title's not clear. The seller would be on the hook for like another, or the buyer would be on the hook for another 110K. And like, oh my God, did title wire out all the money? Did they pay off their, like, this would be the disaster, because then
Yeah.
basically the buyer would have dispersed all the funds, and then they would get something with an extra judgment against it, which would, be horrible, be just
Yeah. Yeah.
horrible.
For sure.
So we get back out, reach out to title. I'm like, "Did you guys disperse funds?" And they said, "No, we did not." I'm like, "Thank you." So now that means we can unwind this. So I get a hold of the buyer and I say, "Hey, we have a problem. We're going to call the mortgage company. We think there's a mistake. We think this should have been reconveyed." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "What does that mean?" And I go, "Well, it means that if we can't get it, reconveyed, then this deal's dead." He's like,
Yeah.
"Well, that's a problem, because I already started doing demo.
Oh.
I've already tore the house apart. I've
Oh
already jumped it
no.
out, and I'm going to start ripping the roof off it tomorrow."
He doesn't even own it yet.
He doesn't even own it. So I go, "Whoa, whoa, hit the brakes, hit the brakes. You need to stop." I go, "How much are you into it?" He goes, "Like probably about 5 grand right now." And I go, "Just hit the brakes. I will cover you on the 5 grand, because I've been telling you this whole time that we're good." Because that's what I've been, that's where
Yeah.
we were at with the transaction. So he puts it on hold.
Yeah.
And he's also on a cruise right now. He's got his family on a
Oh
cruise
no.
in the Caribbean. So his guys are working remote. So I feel bad for him, because he's like on this cruise and dealing
Yeah.
with this nonsense. So basically we're just getting the deal unwound now. So he gets all his money back. And
Okay.
yeah, so that's one of
When you
slowest,
when you
smoothest.
said earlier, like the loan modification was not recorded, who's responsible for recording that?
That's the thing. So the loan mods and all that stuff need to be done. So if you're a seller or you're a homeowner going through a loan mod, you need to make sure that all the documents have been recorded. You need to
Okay.
get
Yeah.
recorded documents back from.
Right.
But a lot of times, everybody in these situations are going through like one of the worst things ever. Like they're in the process of losing their home, so like
Yeah.
they're not thinking clearly, and the bank tells them everything's good. Hey, we took care of it. You just got to start making these new payments now. So no one
Right.
really checks on that. So
Right.
it's
Right.
title's responsibility when they go to do a transfer to make sure that all that stuff's been handled. But on the front end of it, as the investor, you're going to want to, like, soon as you get a title report, you want to have someone really experienced on it. So like I use Michael Kim on
Yes. Yeah.
everything I do. So Mike went through the documents immediately. He's like, hey, we have this problem, we have that problem. He already found all the landmines and told title, hey, we need all this stuff. But the process was underway, and title actually reached out to the mortgage company
Yeah.
and got them on the phone, but they didn't give them, like the first answer, like, we need to get a reconveyance, and they go, okay, well, I'll pass this message on and we'll start the process. So that's pretty much how those ones go left.
That's a crazy story, for sure, for sure. One of the things I saw that you started recently, I think in the new year, was the Sub2 meetup. That just started in January, right?
Yeah,
Is that
first
yeah?
one was, well, not, was it January? It might have been. No, I think the first one was at March.
Okay.
Yeah, March, then April.
I know I missed like I made it to one so far. This
Yeah.
was really it
Yeah,
was
we've
good.
done
Yeah.
2, and then we have another one coming up next weekend, the 24th,
Right.
March
That
24th.
that one looks interesting. So can you just explain that one a little bit?
Yeah. So we're focused on flipping this next one. So we have actually 3 different sites. It's me and John Robinson, and we have 3 different sites. And I need to reach out to him today to get the addresses of the other 2. I only have addresses of 1, but we're going to go meet actually at the site where the flipper is doing the work. And then everybody that's there can ask them questions. So anybody interested in flipping can ask, hey, how'd you find this deal? How'd you finance this deal? What does the construction look like? What do the numbers look like? What are you going to make on it? Like, all
Right.
those kind of questions can get answered at each one of these ones.
Hmm.
And what's cool about it, it's going to start at 10 in the morning and go till it's like super long,
Yeah.
but everybody can just show up at the ones they want to. So if they want to show up at this flip, they can, that flip. And then at the end, we're going to have a barbecue and have food.
Okay.
I think it's going to be barbecue. I got to talk to John. We're
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
working out the food situation, but we're going to have, it catered. So food's going to be there. And then the
Oh,
flippers are going to come back to the meetup at the end and answer, more
more
questions and
questions.
things and present.
That's awesome. And you could just I assume just go to the barbecue if you couldn't make
Oh,
the other flips.
easy. You could just show up at 4. It's the same
Yeah.
place that John does his meetups, like on Thursday nights.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we're doing
Cool.
kind of combined things. So it's his meetup combined with the Sub2 meetup, kind of
Should be
all
pretty
together.
big then. A lot
Yeah.
of people. Cool. One question I didn't ask you was when you find deals, like you still need to have some cash for entry fees and things like that. Do you use private money at all, or private money partners, or how do you kind of fund your deals?
Yeah, I need to start doing that because right now I have 2 more deals that if both of them go at the same time, I'm gonna need private money. If they go one after the other, or one and then the other one goes at a later date, I'll be fine. But we're using all of our own funds, so I'm using my own money on these ones. But if I do have both of them go at the same time, I'm definitely gonna need private money. But no, I've not used it yet on any of my projects.
Okay. And I think like you already had a business, and do you use your business sometimes to like fund your real estate and vice versa?
Yeah, yeah. So basically we'll take money that we've built up in our businesses, and
Yeah.
then it sits in there. My family's amazing. They're very, very conservative. I am not that conservative, but
Yeah.
thankfully they are, and they're savers. So they'll watch things really closely, and then build up a wad of cash, and then we have a discussion about it. Like, hey, how are we gonna,
Yeah.
do we want to buy some properties so we can save on taxes this year? Like, that's the discussion we're having right now because
Okay.
we've only purchased 1 property this year,
Yeah.
and we're in May, which I have plenty of time to buy more, but for tax reasons, we need to start looking at that.
Right. So, and with all the properties that you've purchased or you've gotten into, what would you say your main strategy's been? Like, I know there's like sub-two seller finance, there's cash. What have you used? And you've also done like a little variation of sub-two, which is a mirror wrap, right? So, what have you used the most, and what's your favorite method
Yeah,
when you can
right
use it?
now I'm focused on lease options. So I
Okay.
have a townhouse right now in Tualatin that I'm selling on lease option, and I need to follow up with several buyers. In fact, I'm in the process of doing it. So that's my favorite exit right now. So
Okay.
if I can get a property, like the last one was in Salem that I sold, and like that one was a sub-2 purchase, and the entry fee on that one was $22,000. And then we found a tenant buyer, a lease option buyer, and they brought in $15,000.
Okay.
Like, I'm leaving 7 grand in the deal, and they're making all the payments. And I purchased it, like I was all into the house for like a little over 500,000, and I sold it on lease option for 580.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
So, for people that don't really understand the lease option method, could you just kind of give like a high level of how
yeah,
that works, and why a seller would give you, or sorry, why a lease option, I guess, tenant or buyer would give you $15,000?
yeah. So lease options are amazing for people that either have bad credit or they don't have a large down payment, or they can't afford like even interest rates we have right now.
Right.
So like those are the three main reasons. So what we'll do is we'll offer a property and say, like this one I have in Tualatin. This is a great example. We will come in and we'll say, hey, like market rent rates are like 2,300. So I say if you bring in an option fee of X amount of dollars, which it starts at 7,500.
Okay.
So if you can bring in 7,500, I'll fix the rent rate for 3 years at $2,700 a month.
Okay.
So it's above market rents, but
Right.
it gives them the ability to purchase the property in 3 years.
Okay.
At the end of 3 years, if they're not able to do a traditional purchase on the property, then I will seller finance it to them at that point.
Okay.
And the reason we like it that way is that here's the ugly side of it. So if someone stops paying during the lease period, it's just an eviction.
Right.
Like it's a regular eviction. If I transfer title right away in like a traditional seller finance or wrap situation, then I have to go through the foreclosure process to get the property back. So it's a real pain. So I explained this to buyers this way that I'm open to do seller finance if you can prove to me in 3 years that you're going to be a great, or like if you're paying on time for 3 years, the
Yeah.
likelihood of you defaulting on me,
It's
after
low.
that is
Low.
very,
Yeah.
very low.
Yeah.
So that's why it makes it real safe on, as a seller, if you do it this way. And it's great for a buyer because then they can actually achieve home ownership. They can get into it for a very low down payment. You're
Right.
giving them the ability to
Yep.
do it that way. We also set up the lease payments through like I use a veil. And what that does for them is as they make their lease payment, it counts on their credit. So they actually
Okay.
can build their credit in that 3 year period so that they can qualify for a mortgage. So you're giving them the ability to achieve home ownerships in a non-scammy. There's a lot of scammy ways to
Yeah.
do it, but the way we do it is it incentivizes the buyer to do
Hmm.
things the right way, and they will be able to get home ownership through it. And we
Right.
make money, like we make money on the process too.
Yeah. So it sounds like they're coming in with some money. They're paying a little bit above market rent, but it's not going to change for 3 years. The payment will stay 2,700. And the thing that is different that you said, like I've heard of at the end of the 3 years, you have the option to buy. Otherwise, it's kind of you don't buy it. Well, you're actually giving them another option, which is to sell or finance it. And I assume that would be probably like a lower interest rate than what you get it on the market with a I don't know Bank of America or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What we tell everybody is that we'll do market rates for interest rates, but we won't go below 5%. So I
Right.
just tell them if rates ever go below five again, we're going to tell you to go get a traditional mortgage and
Yeah.
buy
Yeah.
it at that point.
And you'd be better off, yeah, with the lower payment. Yeah, that's really cool. So the other thing I think I understand about lease options is that you're not actually not doing any of the repair work or maintenance either, right? That's kind of a big
Exactly.
bonus.
So
So
we
you
have
don't
that
need property management.
conversation. Yeah, we say, hey, you're an owner now. So this is I tell them this is the selfish part that I'm being selfish at this point. I don't want to, this sounds bad, but I don't want to hear from you about anything.
Yeah.
Just make your payments. Like that's the whole reason why I'm selling the properties this way is I don't want to have property management. So
Right.
just make your payments on time. You're going to take care of all repairs.
Mm.
So because you're going to be an owner in it. Now, if there's a repair that's a big ticket item that you can't afford, come to me. I will take care of it because I want to make sure that we have a furnace, that we have, plumbing, like life and safety
Roof doesn't
things.
leak.
Yeah, roof doesn't leak. Like
Yeah.
we want to make sure those things are handled. So we'll take care of that and we'll tack it onto the purchase price.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. Cool. Yeah, that's definitely a good strategy to use because property management, like I know in general they say 8 to 10%. I'm not sure what the rates are around here, but if it's higher or lower,
No, it
what?
is. It is. So I have it depends on the area. And if you have more units in the area, like a lot of my property management, like I have one company in Salem, but they don't go to Portland.
Okay.
And then I have people in Portland and they don't go to
I'll go
Salem.
to
And then
Salem.
people in Vancouver, they don't go to Portland. It's weird. So you actually
Yeah.
have to like I have a really good Portland one, a really good Salem one, and a good Vancouver one. So I'm
Okay.
set
Yeah.
now on the areas. But the more units you get with them, the lower the rates are. So
Oh, okay.
and it's kind of weird too. Like in Salem, I'm paying 8% on all my units except for multifamily. So if you have more than 2 units on a property, they consider
Yeah.
that multifamily. Then they
Okay.
drop the rate to 7%.
That's actually good.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, but in Portland, my Portland guy, he's really good,
Yeah.
but he's 10% on. It doesn't matter if you have more units, less units.
Just
He's just
10% up front.
10%.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
he's so good. They are.
Or he's worth it.
Yes, like
Yeah.
a good property manager, everybody gets hung up on like how much do they charge?
Yeah.
Honestly, if you have somebody that's on point, they will save you in evictions, They will get you a higher rent rate. They will save you, like even on contract, like a lot of them make money on contractor repairs. Like
Okay, yeah.
they just can't wait to have something go wrong on the property so they can nickel and dime you.
Yeah. That's awesome. Let's see what other questions I have for you here. Yeah, so for a new person, I just picture yourself back in 2018, but now today with all the social media and the different ways and different mentorships and different communities and programs and everything else you could do in real estate. What advice would you have for someone thinking about like dipping their toes in and getting started so they, I guess, don't end up on a journey that they've ended up spending thousands of dollars and it wasn't the right journey for them?
Yeah. My advice is definitely come out to the local meetups. That's the first step. Step one, go to the local meetups, start meeting all the people in your area.
Yeah.
Then once you do that, you kind of get an idea of what everybody's working on and everybody's doing. And then you'll develop, or not really develop, you're gonna go, you know what? I think I'm interested in wholesaling or
Yeah.
I'm interested in flipping. Then start approaching people that are doing the thing that you want to do. Then after you do that, it's very simple. It's just you're gonna try to get on their team. You're going to try to partner with them, bring value to them. And when, I know that's kind of cliched when you say bring value, but
Yeah.
like, let's say for a flipper, like you want to get involved in flipping, bird
Yeah.
dogging is the easiest way to, make a couple bucks and get involved in deals. You can also do like internships where you're
Right.
working for free. Like say you approached a flipper and say, hey, I want to get involved. I'm willing to work for free for, an hour a day or whatever
Yeah.
that looks like for
Yeah.
the next couple months. That's the easiest way to kind of get involved with any
Gotcha.
type of real estate. That's the fastest way. And then once you kind of do that, if you really want to turbocharge it, then
Yeah.
you would join Sub 2. I think
Right.
Sub 2 is just the easiest way to, it's the cheat code. It will cut years off your learning.
Yeah. And just give you access to people who you can ask a question and get an answer pretty quickly. And maybe two or three different answers you didn't even think of. Yeah, for sure. And for someone interested in bird dogging, which is basically you're going out and finding potential deals or leads for flippers, would you recommend like the first skill they pick up would be something like underwriting, like basic underwriting? So they're not bringing just, if something they saw on Zillow that might work, they
Yeah,
think
the
might work.
Zillow link thing is that's a pet peeve of mine. But
Yeah.
no, you're right. Learning some basic underwriting, and the easiest way is after you've approached your flipper or whoever you're bringing deals to, is just be very transparent. Hey, I am brand new. I want to bring you opportunity, but I don't want to bring you the wrong opportunity. Can you kind of
Yeah.
give me some criteria or a breakdown of what is a good opportunity for you? Having that conversation and
What
then
they're looking
also
for.
selling them, hey, I'm probably going to send you, please be patient with me. It's going to be 5 or 10. I know that they're going to be bad, but if you could give me feedback and tell me what I need to change or what I should, disqualifiers so I don't bring you this type of thing,
Yeah.
having that conversation is going to be very helpful.
Nice, nice. So, of the local meetups, what are some ones that people could attend, and like when do they happen?
Definitely. So the Sub 2, you want to hit the Sub 2 meetup. We have the official Sub 2 one once a
Yep,
month. It's towards the end of the month. That one for sure. I go to Chris Murr's meetup. So that's the
yep,
Portland REI one.
hmm
That's amazing. John Robinson's meetup, PDX REI group.
yep, yep.
That's like the third Thursday. Another one that's well, actually two more that are really, really good are Investor Labs. That's
Yeah,
Mike Nuss's
yep,
meetup. That one's Rarebird, that one's phenomenal. And then also the Salem Real Estate Group. Salem Real Estate
gotcha.
Group there's such heavy hitters down there. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
that one gets looked over by everybody, but that one's really good.
I've made it down there a couple times. It's usually after work, and it's usually a lot of traffic. By the time I get there, it's almost over, or it's close to it. But the times I've gone, it's been really good. Right now, I've got a meeting that runs late, exactly that Wednesday. But yeah, it's been some good information down there. I remember the one I went to, there was a guy doing RV parks, and it was really interesting.
It's
Yeah,
awesome. For me, all the value are the people. Like I want to get in and meet everybody, find out what they're working on. You're gonna find lenders, you're gonna find buyers, sometimes even sellers. It's
yeah,
crazy. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I've gotten really good connections and good friends at all these places.
yeah. It's been awesome. So that's where I actually, when I was, I just joined Bigger Pockets way back when I was before I even knew about Pace. I went to Chris's meetup, and he was having it at a Bridgeport in the Bunk House
Yeah, bunk
Cafe or
sandwich. Yeah,
sandwich
bunk
place.
sandwich.
Yeah, and it was maybe like 8 people there. And it's growing so much now. Like, yeah, it's been awesome just to watch that one grow and see his community grow up in the local area too. So, yeah, thank you, Robert, for your time today. And What are you going to do the rest of the weekend?
Okay, so the rest of the weekend, I have a flip going on in Vernonia. I need to go out there and do a drywall installation and paint takeoff.
Yeah,
So that's one we just closed on. It's like 2 weeks ago. We're
yeah.
moving really fast. Like we already got permits. Electrician and plumber will be finished next week, and like we're cranking on it. I'm hoping to get that one on market.
Are you posting this on social media as you're going?
Okay,
Oh,
I
you
need to.
should.
I will go out there today. I posted once like 2 weeks ago. I'll post again because I should give an update on that stuff. I have that one. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm taking the family. I told them, hey, do you want to go for a nice ride? And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
let's go. So that's what we'll do on Sunday. We'll do a nice drive out there. Yeah, pretty
Nice.
much that. And then I think I'm gonna go to the gym today. Just gonna get some. Take my kiddo to the gym.
Yep.
And
Yep.
get some stuff done. So
It's
get some stuff
a
done around the house.
chill weekend
Yeah.
for sure. So where can people find you? Like if they want to get in touch with you,
Yeah.
what's the easiest way?
Easiest way is Instagram at the Rob Harden. So find me on Instagram or on Facebook. That's where I do posting all my, like projects I'm working on and things like that. So that's the easiest place to find me.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate it. Appreciate your time, and I know you're busy this morning, so thank you for taking the time out to talk with me.
Oh, it's always awesome. Like I really like talking to you. So we have like the best conversations about things we're
Cool,
working on. So
cool, cool, cool. And I'll see you next week at the meetup. We'll get some barbecue, probably, right?
I'm hoping barbecue. I got to talk to John. I convince him. Like I think barbecue is the way to go.
Yeah, it's summer. It's time for barbecues. It's almost summer, but we're
Almost,
there. Yeah,
yes.
Oregon, we get like that window, right? So, all right, take care.
All right.
All right.
Later.
Thanks for tuning in to the Let's REI podcast. If you got value from today's episode, hit subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify. For more stories, tools, and insights, head over to letsrei.com. And I'll catch you on the next one.